Is Bitcoin in trouble? After a wild $8,000 swing yesterday, running all the way up towards that $114,000 area and then back down to $106,000 respectfully, traders and investors are asking what's really driving this volatility here. And once again, it comes down off the back of some more tariff news shaking global markets up. But that's not the only story going on here as well. We also just saw Kadena, KDA, a once hyped altcoin project, effectively shut its doors yesterday and basically go to zero. Could this be the start of a much larger altcoin purge as liquidity tightens and weaker projects fade away? I'm going to be breaking it all down today. Bitcoin's price action, take a look at that KDA as well. And then also just kind of look at what is going on with Bitcoin and what I anticipate for the next coming weeks and months here. My name is Paul Sampson. Welcome back to DataDash. When it comes to trading and investing, the number one advantage that you can have is access. Access to reliable insights, professional grade analysis, and a community that pushes you to get better each and every single day. And that's exactly what we've built over at DataDash Pro. When you join, you get direct access to our Traders Club Discord, where I share daily updates, chart setups, and insights into both short-term moves and longer-term market structure. Whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or the broader altcoin market, you'll know the exact levels and setups I'm watching personally. And just as important, you'll be a part of a tight-knit community of traders who are learning, growing, and navigating this market together. On top of that, you can subscribe to the Dash Report written by Nicholas Merton, which is a monthly deep dive into the global macro picture, everything from equities and commodities to interest rates and crypto. Nick breaks it all down, the bigger trends driving financial markets as well, and it's one of the most valuable resources you can have if you want to understand the why behind the moves we're seeing. And if you really want the full DataDash experience, you can bundle the two, the Traders Club and the Dash Report, and get the complete package. That way you're covered from daily trading setups all the way to monthly macro strategy. So if you're serious about trading, investing, and staying ahead in this fast-moving market, I'd encourage you to check out datadashpro.com. Whether you join the Discord, subscribe to the Dash Report, or bundle the two of them together, you'll be taking a big step toward trading with more clarity and confidence. That's datadashpro.com, where traders and investors level up. The link is down in our description below. I look forward to seeing you all inside. So folks, after we saw the high come in on Bitcoin just a few weeks back, right around that $126,000 area on the 6th of October, we've essentially just been ranging ever since. Now we've had that really big drop down to $102,000, a pop back up and ranging around this region. And folks, one of the things that I'd been looking at ever since we had put in this low in basically since last year, there's actually two versions of this setup. One goes back to the carry trade low, and then one goes all the way back to even 2018's bear market low. Both of them with timing coming around this time frame where the week of 29th of September. I know that many are looking at the 6th of October as like a bull run high and where the bear market starts and everything like that. At the moment, yet to be seen. Honestly, at this point, to me, I'm still looking at this in the way I've been anticipating it on the way up. And that was that we were going to see a potential AB equals CD setup here. Where we were going to complete around the $130,000 to $140,000 area. We completed around or at 126, so just a few percentage away from that completion zone I was looking for, right on time, as this straight up line right here is the week of September 29th. All right, the high occurred on the following Monday. We have already seen our first target be met of this setup, which is back to the 382 at $106,000 with that little bit of a wick below. And the secondary target of this is back down to our gold pocket around $92,000 to $94,000. Now, one other level that we have been really aware of ever since basically July is that we have a couple of high time frame averages here. So these pivots where it's very likely to come back to, it's a just, I always say the same thing. It's like a moving average that doesn't move, right? Like if somebody's targeting the 21 week moving average or the 50 day or the 200 day, and we see the mean reversion plays of that a lot, where the price action will snap back to those averages quite often. We see this as well in this case also. So this is the average for a specific time. Obviously, when that time frame closes, that average will not change. And for two high time frames here aligning at the same point, right about $98,000. So it's floating right around that secondary target of this AB equals CD. And I fully imagine we make our way down to that in the following weeks and months here. Now, the key word is weeks to months potentially. Because after such a move like this, right, where we have a pretty high time frame at this point, this was from August of 2024 to, over a year here, going into September of 2025, there's likely to be at least 30 to 50% of the time it took us to print this for us to reach those target areas. So about 30% to half of that time frame, right? So we're talking potentially a few weeks to months here before we come down to this region, which is just going to equate to Bitcoin in a range, which is not what everybody wants to hear. It usually gives everyone a lot of time to sit around and twiddle their thumbs and just kind of overanalyze and overthink things and picture the worst and picture the best on our big green days to the upside. Everybody's excited. Everybody's afraid on the big dumps. Like, all in all, to just basically print what we've seen the entire bull run so far, right? So even going back to 2022, when we got this first burst up, what did we do? We ranged sideways for quite a while, a couple months here, right? Around that $30,000 mark before you get the run up to $74,000. What do? We range sideways and down a bit, okay? We got carry trade low coming in here, so the fears were high. Everybody's really afraid, but ultimately what do? We just kind of ranged. Little distributional phase here, some accumulation occurring as well. And just to lead us up to the next stage here. Now, this one was a little bit quicker, which was nice because we just got it over with. But the same deal occurred here. You get a nice push to the upside. What do we get? Pretty much a little sideways and down action here. And then now we are at this level here. We just printed a sizable setup, completed on time. And to me, I've been anticipating this area to be the next region that we'd see the next sizable correction, both in time and in some price, right? So where Bitcoin would see, originally I thought it would be around a 30% correction. It still could be. But realistically, I'm looking at this, this 97,000 just really has my attention. And it's not to say that it's got to be the exact dollar amount down here that we just come down, we tag, and you can see this just, off to the races. But there's several reasons why I have my attention on here. And a couple things that go into play is that it's not as deep of a correction here, which again, it totally could. 97,000 to me is where really, if we start to lose that region, I'd be more inclined to think, okay, this is probably going to be a bit deeper here. But until we lose that, coming down to 98,000 to me is just not that big of a deal. A 20% correction basically after a sizable move, which is like a 70% move essentially off of the low here from April. Very, very realistic, yet I know that everybody is very fearful that this is bear market territory now and we're about to dump 80%, and I just don't subscribe to that quite yet. That's me. You can obviously do whatever you'd like to do, protect yourself along the way, because obviously if we do enter into this elongated period of just down market, and we are at risk. I mean, I will say that we're at times here where everything is so overvalued. I just do think that we have a little bit more upside here to go. But with that being said, thought we had a little bit more upside when we were at 126 to 130, right? So you don't necessarily want to only be coming in here for that last potential move, and with the risk as high as it is. So just take that for what it's worth. But for me, I'm in this market from much lower. I've been navigating it relatively well along the way, and 97,000 for me has just got a bunch of confluence, I guess you could say, around that region for us to essentially range into. So I do picture us ranging. That's just the best I could say, that we probably would just do that for the next several weeks here, maybe even to the end of the year. And this will be the big level that I'll be looking for, around that $97,000, and seeing how we react there, right? So from here, looking at the current range we're in, covered this several times before, but now that we're coming into the end of the year, this is something that's really, really relevant here. And you can see that we obviously deviated, took the high here. We wicked right into our point of control, which is the area the price action is going to seek out when we're within a range. Got a little bounce, still holding above that. So that's pretty much our little line in the sand, if you want to look at it that way, around $104,000 as far as the gap between where we are right this moment, just a few $1,000s above that, and dropping down to the low side. And the low side of the range, which I do anticipate we make our way down to, whether or not we push up first and come down, or we just make our way kind of slowly over to it, you see how it lines up perfectly with that $98,000 as well. So that is just a really big area for me, that if we come down to it, and when we do, really it's just, you can't get too bearish at support right there. I'd love to see it under 100,000, because I just know that that's going to rattle everyone's feathers, right? That Bitcoin just broke 100K. The aggressive people are going to come in right there, probably with some really big shorts and panic selling and all the things. Again, everyone is entitled to protecting their capital as best as they can. So if when we come down to these levels, again, I don't know that that's going to be the ultimate support and we just bounce from there. But at the moment, that's how I'm kind of playing this in my head and strategizing from here, is that if we were to rotate this range, which is very natural to do, we come down to some high time frame averages, as well as we've just topped off at a really big setup that is likely to unwind for a few weeks and months, with a major target area coming in right around that region. To me, I can't get overly fearful until we really start to close down below these areas here. So that's the way I'd be approaching this. I think that there's potential for us to actually come down to these areas and actually make the push higher to new all-time highs as we enter 2026, which goes totally against most people's 4-year cycle theory, where the top is in, bear market in 2026, right? So that really catch a lot of people off guard there. And I don't just think that just to think that. There's several reasons why 2026 and 2027 to me have been an area where I could really foresee all markets continuing up as we kind of finish off this 20-year cycle here. But anyways, that's how I'm viewing Bitcoin from here. Really, just kind of keeping a calm head as we're looking around these levels a little bit more locally here. Had a few lows intact here that we left yesterday before we ran it up back to our monthly open. Monthly open was a big resistance level we were looking at yesterday in the Discord. Got the rejection right back down. Essentially, we now have taken all the lows here for this whole week so far. So as long as we're holding above this area, I would say that it's probably in the case or the sense that we'd probably see another push back up. The key to getting any more upside for the week, I would say, is to get back above our weekly open. So that's our little confirmation. Aside from that, you're just ranging below, potentially could break below. But at the moment, we've taken all these lows down here. We're kind of coasting around this region. If you start to see us get back above 108,600 and start closing, I'd say at least 4-hour candles, it's likely that we get another burst back up to the upside, okay? Now, Kadena, KDA, was a project that essentially made an announcement yesterday that they're going to no longer be able to continue business operations. They'll be ceasing all the business activity yesterday, and they essentially closed their doors, right? So I haven't really looked at the price action yet, so let's do that together. So here's KDA after the announcement was made right here. Looks like a little blip, but that's actually a pretty big drop, down sizably from where it's been in the past. It looks like 2022 got up to about $8, and then it just pretty much bled down into the $1 to $2 range. And then now yesterday, with, like I said, doesn't look that bad when you're zoomed out here on the daily, but it's all obviously down here at about 7 cents now at the time of recording this. If we zoom into around the time where we had the announcement, it was around here, so about a 70% drop from there. And effectively trading, I mean, not necessarily at zero, of course, but definitely a risk here. You might see some phantom pops here, similar to like what FTX experienced after FTX collapsed, essentially, right? The coin for FTX like saw some few 100% moves off of the absolute ground, right? So even after a 70% decline, even if you were to see a bounce here of like 50, 60, 100%, it's only getting you back to 14 cents, which is still 50% lower than where you were. Not something I'd be messing around with personally, but just pointing that out, that at times you can see things like this essentially bounce back a little bit here and there, but wouldn't really be chasing it personally. Not something I'd be looking to get involved with. And one of the things here, folks, is that I'm not sure what drove this company to end up having to close its doors, whether it was due to the liquidation event last 10 days ago, what have you, or if it was just in general, just something that couldn't deliver, didn't have enough funds, blah, blah, blah. Problem that is afoot here with a lot of altcoins especially is that they are all like this, all right? They're startup companies at best, if they're even something with an actual product. Now, there are many that have an actual product, of course, but there are way more that are just an idea, a hope and a dream, really. So just be cautious around these. There's obviously always opportunities in there to make some bigger ROIs, but the risk there is just as big, right? To basically of these to go to zero. So as always, folks, it's literally just a risk management thing. I always, like I said, I will say it again, these altcoins companies, I mean, pretty much every crypto company is a startup. There's very few that are even there's very few that are even older than just a few years at this point. So if you personally would not invest in a regular startup company with any kind of size or amount of capital that you cannot afford to lose, I would say treat these altcoins the exact same way, because that's exactly what we're doing. They just have the ability to get these pops at times, and you can take advantage of it and all these things, but I would just be very cautious around a lot of them. Do your research. These days are very, very much easier environment for someone to just create something out of thin air. make it look great for a few weeks, and then totally pull the rug on you just weeks later. I'm not saying that this company just pulled a rug, but essentially, I mean, they're closing their doors, didn't see it coming, and then here we are, right? So while volatility like this can feel unsettling, it's often just part of the natural cycle, shaking out weak hands before next major move. And whether Bitcoin is truly in trouble or simply just resetting before the next leg higher, what matters most is staying informed, having a clear plan. If you found today's breakdown helpful, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any future updates. And if you would like my full analysis, setups, and educational material, you can join us inside DataDashPro.com. Our members are tracking these moves in real time each and every single day. You also get access to Nicholas Merton's monthly Dash report as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. My name is Paul Sampson. I'll see you all in the next video. And until then, everybody, cheers.